and introduce Mrs. Lotte Hönning, my colleague. She started work in our business and biodiversity company in March, and she's the project manager for our UBI platform, the one that has been mentioned a few times. So Lotte is coordinating now the platform German Business for Biodiversity, and she will give us an overview on the commitment process in Germany. So please, Lotte, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Veronica, for your introduction. So as Veronica already said, I'm going to give you a short overview on the commitment process in Germany. But I'd like to start with some international figures. The first figure we already heard from Bianca, Brazil. We have around 179 commitments that are submitted globally. And what I found very interesting is that 36% of those commitments come from the private sector. I think that's a very impressive number, and it really shows that there are a lot of economic players worldwide that really engage in protecting and fostering biodiversity. Another number that I found quite striking is that 84% of the commitments come from Europe. So it looks like we are doing quite well in this process in Europe. But now I want to turn to Germany. Firstly, I want to give you some information, some background information. The German Business for Biodiversity platform was launched in autumn 2020 by the Federal Ministry for the Environment, Nature Conservation and Nuclear Safety, as well as the Federal Agency for Nature Conservation. This platform aims at motivating and supporting business players from all branches and sizes, so small and medium enterprises, large companies, and business associations operating in Germany to engage in the CBD post-2020 global biodiversity framework. So the main purpose of this platform was to make the international process really accessible, visible, and tangible to economic players in Germany, because as we all know, international processes sometimes look a bit complex, or they're not really integrated in our daily activities. So that's what this platform is for, and I really can recommend you to click on the link that Veronica posted in the chat to take a look at this platform. As Ms. Ratte already mentioned, the platform is coordinated through Unternehmen Biologische Vielfalt, UBI. At the moment, I am the coordinator of UBI, but I just took over from my colleague, Ms. Veneziano, last month. So she was the person who really set up this whole process. As Ms. Ratte already mentioned in her welcoming speech, we already had a digital dialogue last year on the business commitment process in October 2020. And last month at our Dialog forum, we showed some best practices of business commitments that you can also find on our website. Of course, today is also part of our coordination of the business commitment process. And what I like to share with you is an interactive survey that we did last month on the Dialog forum. We had around about 200 participants, and we asked them in which field they could imagine to submit a business commitment as a company or a business association or another organization. And I found the results quite interesting. We gave 4 options. The options were biodiversity at the company premises, integration of biodiversity along the supply chain, cross-sectoral cooperations, and projects to protect and restore ecosystems. And as you can see in this graphic, there were 2 options that were apparently more popular. So the options biodiversity at the company premises and projects to protect and restore ecosystems at more than 34 and 32%. And I can only assume or guess why they were more popular, but I think that to implement biodiversity measures at the company premises is maybe something that is easier to do than integrate biodiversity along the supply chain. For example, at the premises, you could decide to make your roof green, or you can decide to to have more regional and organic food at the canteen. So that are very tangible and examples that you can handle quite easily, I think. And projects to protect and restore ecosystems are often external projects, so you don't need to restructure your supply chain, you don't need to think about a new strategy and so on. But today I would like to point out that integrating biodiversity along the supply chain doesn't mean that you have to restructure the complete supply chain, but you can just start with smaller parts. You can look at a certain part of the supply chain and make your mind up how you could maybe make that part more biodiversity friendly. Also cross-sectoral cooperations, that option was not clicked on so much. I think maybe it's the same with integrating biodiversity along the supply chain. People think it costs more time and efforts, but also here I think maybe when you take a closer look, it's not, it doesn't cost that much effort. So currently in Germany, we have 3 business commitments that are already put online. And those commitments were submitted in the following sectors: the sector of food and beverages, sector of biocide products and medical products. And the categories that they submitted in were the conservation and sustainable use of species, the conservation and restoration of land ecosystems, as well as sustainable consumption and production. Here I would like to point out that we are in contact with different companies who are just creating a business commitment. For example, companies from the automotive sector, chemical sector, and mining sectors. But as these are internal processes where the CEO of a company often is involved, it takes a little bit of time until those commitments are officially submitted. Yes, I want to show you one example of a business commitment that is already online on the German Business for Biodiversity website. It's the business commitment of Einhorn. Einhorn is a condom producer and a social company that started 2015 with the aim of being part of the solution and not part of the problem. And their business commitment is to initiate a regenerative rubber initiative in Thailand. And I pointed out here 2 aspects. The first one is that they use agroforestry as a tool to restore soils, creating habitat for animals and reduce temperature by 4 degrees Celsius. And I think this example really shows how combating climate change and protecting biodiversity can go hand in hand. And that is something that is very important for us to point out, that those 2 fields, so combat climate change and also protect biodiversity, are fields that come together, go hand in hand, and they're not 2 separate fields. What they are also doing is that they are setting up a network with stakeholders, so farmers, other condom brands and producers, to make sustainable and biodiversity-friendly rubber. I think that's also an important point. Not only the production process is important, but also to build up strong networks of people that really want to protect and foster biodiversity. The categories in which they submitted their commitment are the conservation and restoration of land ecosystems, as well as sustainable consumption and production. So if you want to submit a commitment, but you like to get more support, you can, first of all, I think, get inspired by a lot of examples that were also shown here. I think it's very inspiring to see what is happening here in Germany, but also around the world. Then I can recommend to really visit our website, read to the FAQs that we put online. And of course, you can always either contact me or my colleague, Veronica Veneziano. I put the email address here, but you can also call us at the office. Yes, how to submit a commitment. Again, just visit our website, German Business for Biodiversity. You can fill out the online form and then submit. Yes, that's my whole presentation for today. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. If you have questions later, feel free to call us at the office or write an email. Thank you a lot for listening.